Welcome back to HistoryCrafts, where we explore interesting people and facts from our past. Today we're diving into the story of a genius whose inventions continue to impact our modern world even 800 years after his death. In the 12th century, a quiet revolution was taking place in the fields of engineering and mechanics, far from the bustling streets of Europe. In the heart of the Islamic Golden Age, a man was redefining what it meant to be an engineer. His name was Al-Jazari. Al-Jazari was born around 1136 CE in the region of Upper Mesopotamia, in what is now southeastern Turkey. His full name, Badi al-Zaman Abu Aliz Ismail ibn al-Razaz al-Jazari, gives us some insight into his background. The title Al-Jazari refers to the place of his birth, Al-Jazira, a region nestled between the Tigris and Euphrates rivers. This fertile land, often referred to as the cradle of civilization, was steeped in centuries of history, from ancient Sumerians to the Abbasid Caliphate. The 12th century was a time of remarkable progress in the Islamic world. The Abbasid Caliphate, while losing some of its political power, still reigned as the intellectual heart of the world. The city of Baghdad was home to the famed House of Wisdom, a massive library and center for scholarly activity where texts from Greek, Persian, Indian and Chinese cultures were translated, studied and advanced. This cross-pollination of knowledge created an intellectual climate that would eventually give birth to some of the greatest minds in history, including Al-Jazari. We don't know much about Al-Jazari's early life, but we do know that he came from a family of craftsmen. His father, Ibn al-Razaz, was an accomplished engineer in his own right, serving the local rulers, the Artukid dynasty, who governed from their capital in Diyarbakir. Diyarbakir, a key city in the region, was a hub of trade and learning. It is very likely that young Al-Jazari was exposed to complex mechanical devices and hydraulic engineering from an early age, learning the trade from his father. At the time, water management was vital for the region's agriculture and urban life. Cities in the Islamic world relied on ingenious systems of irrigation, water wheels and pumps, which made the role of engineers like Al-Jazari crucial. Given this, it's no surprise that Al-Jazari's later works focused heavily on water-powered devices. A little side note, just to understand how important water management was. We have to remember that much of the Islamic world covered arid or semi-arid regions. Ensuring that water was available for both drinking and irrigation was a matter of life and death. Cities like Baghdad, Damascus and Cairo thrived because of their ability to manipulate water systems. As Al-Jazari grew in skill and reputation, he found himself working for the Artukid dynasty in Diyarbakir, particularly under the patronage of the ruler Nasir al-Din Mahmud. The Artukids were a powerful regional dynasty that ruled parts of Anatolia and Syria. Though not as famous as the larger empires like the Abbasids or Seljuks, the Artukids were great patrons of the arts, science and engineering. By the time Al-Jazari was in his 30s, he had risen to the position of chief engineer for the Artukid court. This was a prestigious role, as the court not only managed practical needs like maintaining the water systems, but also demanded elaborate mechanical devices for entertainment, courtly life and diplomacy. It's important to remember that in medieval Islamic courts, mechanical devices were not only functional, but also symbols of power and prestige. A ruler who could control the forces of nature through ingenious machines demonstrated their authority over both the physical and intellectual realms. In 1206, Al-Jazari completed his magnum opus, the Book of Knowledge of Ingenious Mechanical Devices. The work was commissioned by Nasir al-Din Mahmud as a showcase of Al-Jazari's mechanical designs. This wasn't just a technical manual, it was a compendium of the latest innovations in mechanical engineering, from water clocks to automata. Al-Jazari dedicated the book to his patron, ensuring that his name would forever be tied to the innovations described within. The relationship between patron and inventor was crucial in the medieval Islamic world. Without wealthy patrons like the Artukid rulers, many scientific and artistic advancements might never have been realized. Rulers often funded projects not just out of personal interest, but to enhance their prestige among peers and rivals. Al-Jazari's inventions were nothing short of revolutionary for their time. While he wasn't the first to design automata or water clocks, what set him apart was the complexity and precision of his machines. Let's take a closer look at some of his most notable inventions. One of his most famous works is the elephant clock. Now you might wonder, why an elephant? In the medieval Islamic world, elephants symbolized power and wisdom, especially in the Indian subcontinent, from where Al-Jazari likely drew inspiration. But this clock was more than just a timekeeping device. It was a multicultural masterpiece, blending elements from Greek, Indian, Persian, and Egyptian traditions. At its core, the elephant clock used water to regulate time, but it also had automata, small mechanical figures that moved in synchrony as time passed. Water would drip into a hidden basin inside the elephant, and as it filled, it would slowly pull a float downward. This float, attached to strings, would trigger the movement of the automata, a man sitting on the elephant's back, a scribe who marked the passage of time, and birds that rotated in a circular pattern. This wasn't just a functional device, it was an artistic marvel that blended aesthetics with engineering. Automata, like those Al-Jazari designed, were often used for entertainment in royal courts. They demonstrated the power and wealth of rulers who could afford to commission such intricate and expensive works. But they also had practical applications in timekeeping, entertainment, and even religious rituals. Another of Al-Jazari's famous inventions was the Peacock fountain, a stunning example of an automaton used for ceremonial purposes. The peacock would spread its tail feathers in a mechanical dance as water flowed through the fountain. Guests at the Artukid court would wash their hands from the flowing water, and the peacock's movements made the experience both functional and delightful. This fountain, like many of Al-Jazari's designs, was powered by water and gravity, a testament to his deep understanding of hydraulics, which was far ahead of its time. Side note, fountains like this were not just for decoration. In Islamic tradition, water was a symbol of purity, and fountains often had practical uses in ablution rituals before prayers. Al-Jazari's work reflected a blending of functionality, spirituality, and artistry. Perhaps one of Al-Jazari's most important practical inventions was the reciprocating water pump, which was used to raise water for irrigation and public fountains. This machine used a crankshaft, a crucial mechanical innovation that converted rotational motion into linear motion, a principle still used in modern engines. The water-raising machine operated by rotating a wheel that drove a piston, allowing water to be lifted from a lower source to a higher destination. This principle is used in countless machines today, from car engines to modern water pumps. The crankshaft is one of the most important inventions in mechanical history. Without it, modern engines, whether in cars, airplanes, or even power plants, would not exist as we know them. Al-Jazari's early designs laid the groundwork for this essential component of industrialization. Al-Jazari's influence can be seen in countless modern technologies, even though his name may not be well known outside scholarly circles. His innovations, particularly the crankshaft, camshaft, and automata, laid the foundation for modern mechanical engineering. Let's break down a few examples of how his work continues to impact us today. First, the crankshaft. This simple yet ingenious device allowed for the conversion of rotational motion into linear motion, as we saw in his water-raising machine. Fast forward several centuries, and this same principle became the heart of the internal combustion engine, which powers cars, airplanes, and other machinery. Without the crankshaft, it would have been nearly impossible to build engines that could perform complex tasks with high efficiency. Al-Jazari didn't invent the crankshaft for cars, but his application of the principle was a major step toward the complex machines of the Industrial Revolution. Side note, historians often refer to Al-Jazari as one of the first mechanical engineers in the modern sense. His work wasn't just about inventing new machines, it was about documenting principles and making them reproducible. In many ways, his approach was a precursor to the methods used by engineers today. Al-Jazari also designed early versions of the camshaft, another crucial mechanical element. The camshaft allows for the precise control of machine parts in a specific sequence. And this same technology is used today in countless applications, from engines to automated assembly lines. Interestingly, it's believed that scholars in Europe came across Al-Jazari's work during the late medieval period, as many Arabic manuscripts were translated into Latin. The Renaissance genius Leonardo da Vinci, who is often hailed as the father of mechanical engineering, may have been influenced by the designs of Islamic scholars like Al-Jazari. While there's no direct proof, the similarities between their inventions are hard to ignore. This sharing of knowledge between the Islamic world and Europe was a key driver of the Renaissance. Much of the intellectual tradition that inspired figures like Leonardo came from scholars working in the Islamic Golden Age, such as Al-Jazari. Without these contributions, the rapid advancements of the 15th and 16th centuries might have looked very different. Al-Jazari's crowning achievement was without a doubt the Book of Knowledge of Ingenious Mechanical Devices, completed in 1206. This book wasn't just a collection of ideas, it was a comprehensive guide to building machines that were years ahead of their time. In it, he meticulously detailed 50 mechanical devices, providing diagrams, step-by-step instructions, and even tips on materials and construction methods. It's important to note that Al-Jazari wrote his manuscript in Arabic, the scholarly language of the Islamic world at the time. Arabic was the lingua franca of science and learning, much like Latin in Europe during the same period. Scholars from all over the Islamic world, from Spain to Persia, could communicate and exchange ideas thanks to this shared language. What makes this book truly remarkable is the clarity of Al-Jazari's explanations. His designs weren't just theoretical, they were intended to be practical. He wanted others to be able to recreate his inventions, which is why he provided such detailed instructions. His book covered a wide range of devices, from clocks and automata to water-lifting machines and fountains, all designed with remarkable precision. Manuscripts like Al-Jazari's were often copied and passed down through generations. His book was so influential that it was translated into Persian and even later into European languages. It served as a reference for future engineers, both in the Islamic world and beyond. The book is divided into 6 categories, each covering a specific type of machine or mechanism. These range from water clocks to devices for measuring time and automata, to tools for lifting water, and even music-playing machines. In fact, some of the earliest examples of programmable machines can be traced back to the devices Al-Jazari described. Side note: Al-Jazari's work on automata, mechanical figures that could move on their own, laid the groundwork for what we would now call robotics. Though his automata were powered by water and gravity rather than electricity, the concept of creating machines that could operate independently was revolutionary. In 1206, Al-Jazari passed away, likely in Diyarbakir, where he had spent most of his life. He left behind a legacy that would inspire engineers for generations to come. Unfortunately, much of his work was forgotten in Europe for centuries, only to be rediscovered through translations during the Renaissance. However, in the Islamic world, his contributions were never lost to time. Engineers and scholars continued to study his designs long after his death, keeping his memory alive. The fact that we know so much about Al-Jazari today is a testament to the care with which Islamic scholars preserved knowledge. Unlike in some parts of medieval Europe, where scientific progress was often stifled, scholars in the Islamic world were dedicated to preserving and advancing knowledge. Libraries in cities like Baghdad, Cairo, and Cordoba safeguarded texts and ideas from across cultures. Today, historians and engineers recognize Al-Jazari as one of the great pioneers of mechanical engineering. His book has been translated into numerous languages, and replicas of his machines can be found in museums across the world. He might not be as famous as figures like Leonardo da Vinci or Archimedes, but his contributions were no less important. Modern researchers have recreated some of Al-Jazari's machines using his original designs, and what they've found is astonishing. His devices work just as he described, a testament to his genius and the precision of his engineering. It's remarkable to think that machines designed over 800 years ago still function when built today. There is an unproven theory that Al-Jazari might have had some rudimentary understanding of steam power. His water-raising machines and automata were sophisticated, and some enthusiasts believe he may have experimented with steam-driven mechanisms. However, no hard evidence exists, leading to speculation about whether some designs were intentionally destroyed or hidden. While most of his documented inventions were for peaceful purposes, there is another theory that Al-Jazari may have designed early war machines for siege warfare or defense. His intricate understanding of mechanics would have made him capable of creating devices such as catapults or mechanical traps, although there is no surviving documentation to confirm this as well. In many ways, we are still living in the world Al-Jazari helped create. From the machines that pump our water to the clocks that keep our time, his legacy endures in the very fabric of modern life. Though time may have moved on, the brilliance of Al-Jazari's inventions will continue to inspire generations to come. As we reflect on Al-Jazari's life and work, it's clear that his contributions were nothing short of revolutionary. His machines continue to inspire, and his legacy endures as a testament to the power of human ingenuity. If you enjoyed this deep dive into the life of one of history's greatest engineers, be sure to like, subscribe, and comment below on what other historical figures you'd like to learn more about. This is HistoryCrafts, where history crafts itself.